Welcome to the Quality Quest TV. As promised, from today we begin a deep dive into the ISO 9001 clauses, not by reading them, but by understanding what they actually mean in real life. We'll connect ISO to real projects, real audits, and real workplace challenges. And today we are starting with one of the most ignored yet most powerful clauses in ISO 9001, that is clause number 4, context of the organization. This one clause quietly decides whether your quality system stands strong or collapses the moment real world pressure hits. Now imagine building a 100-story skyscraper with the world's best engineers and the most expensive materials. But there's one problem. You forgot to check the soil. If the ground is shaky, that building will collapse no matter how much you spent on the paint. Hence, Clause 4 of ISO 9001 asks something very uncomfortable. Do you actually understand your own organization? Most companies think they do until the audit starts. Today, we are moving past the boring checklists to look at the soil of your business. This is the foundation that separates world-class organizations from those just focuses on chasing a piece of paper. Let's quickly see the bigger picture of Clause 4. It is like asking 4 simple but very tough questions about your organization. Clause 4.1 asks, what's really happening around you? This is about your internal and external environment like technology, competitors, culture, risks, regulation. This is the soil in which your company is planted. Clause 4.2 asks, who actually cares about what you do? Here we identify the different interested parties like customers, employees, management, regulators, cloud providers, and what each of them really expects from you. Clause 4.3 asks, where does ISO start and stop for you? This is your scope. Which locations, products, services, teams are included, and what is clearly outside the boundary? No hiding. And finally, clause number 4.4, which asks, how does your system actually work step by step? This is the heart, your QMS and its processes. How work flows from requirements to delivery, which processes you use, who owns them, and how they connect. So Clause 4 moves from environment to people, to boundaries, to processes. Once you see this flow, 4.1 to 4.4 stops feeling like theory and starts looking like a very practical checklist for understanding your own organization. So with that picture in mind, let's now zoom into Clause 4.1 and see how companies usually get it wrong, especially in IT services and product development. On paper, Clause 4.1 talks about issues. But in reality, it's more like holding up a mirror to your organization. ISO is quietly asking something most companies try to avoid: honesty. Let's take an IT service example. You might proudly say your strength is agile delivery. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Your internal reality is 30% attrition. If your best developers are leaving every 6 months, then your so-called process is actually a house of cards. From a product company, you're building a great SaaS product. Everything looks perfect internally. But externally, a new data privacy regulation has just been introduced in the EU. And if you are not tracking that change, your product becomes outdated even before it's launched. Sounds logical, right? Yet, this is exactly where most companies fail. Clause 4.2 is about interested parties. And this is where things start getting uncomfortable. Because the truth is, you can't please everyone. Your customer wants a low price, your employees want high salary, your shareholders want higher profits, and all of this has to somehow coexist. This is where many organizations misunderstand quality. Quality is not about making everyone happy. It's about understanding competing expectations and making conscious, transparent choices. Let me share something I've personally seen during audits. I've walked into companies with beautiful ISO documentation, neatly written processes, perfect diagrams, and under interested parties, they proudly list employees. But when I ask a simple question, how does your quality system actually help a burnt out developer? The room goes silent. People look at each other. No one has an answer. Because if your system doesn't solve real human problems, it's not a quality management system, it's just a fairy tale. Next comes the scope. This is your boundary. But friends, this is also where many companies try to hide their mess. They quietly exclude the most difficult departments from the audit just to get the certificate. And then we come to clause 4.4, the process. On paper, everything looks perfect, a clean flowchart, requirement code, test, release clearly documented. But in reality, not so perfect. As a lead auditor, this is where I catch the most gaps. I'll see a document proudly saying all code is peer reviewed. But when I open Jira or GitHub, there is no review, no comments, no evidence. The document says one thing, reality says something else, and that's the truth many teams avoid. Because if your process only exists inside a document, you don't really have a quality management system. You just have a script for a play. So why do companies fail? Because they treat clause 4 like a research paper they have to finish the night before an exam. They fill it with jargon hoping to impress the auditor. But here's the truth. I'm not impressed by big words. I'm impressed when a manager says, we realized our team is struggling with a new tech stack, so we updated our context and added a training process. That's real quality. It's proactive, not reactive. At the end of the day, quality isn't about impressing an auditor for one day. It's about building systems that work, even when no one is watching. If you're tired of checklist compliance and want to build something that actually survives a crisis, you are in the right place. And if this video helped you see ISO a little differently, subscribe to Quality Quest TV. Because here we don't chase certificates, we build clarity. I'll see you in the next video where we tackle clause number 5 and the crisis of leadership.